Here is everything you need to know to get started with Autodesk Sketchbook in under 5 minutes. Going to the File menu in the top left, you can see some basic functions like creating a new file or opening a pre-existing one. Next to it is the Edit menu, where you can go to Preferences and change defaults and keyboard shortcuts. The Image menu does several things, but for now we'll focus on Image Size, which lets you control the resolution of your image. I recommend changing this from the default to get better quality images. I usually go for at least 2160, though often higher depending on the artwork in question. As for the basic program functions, the brush palette gives you a small selection of brushes to choose from quickly and easily. If you go to the sliding bar in the palette, you can change specific settings on the brush to achieve different effects. I recommend playing around with this a bit to see what everything does. Next to the brush editor, you can access the full brush library, which includes all of your default and created brushes. This circle here is the color puck that allows you to change colors. You can also simply click and drag up for a lighter version of the color you have, down for darker, and right and left to increase and decrease saturation respectively. Next to that is the brush puck, which enables you to increase the size by dragging right, decrease it by dragging left, and change the transparency by dragging up and down. At the bottom left is the shortcut Lagoon. You can change the Lagoon's location. Next to that are zooming controls. The magnifying glass lets you zoom in and move around. Fit to view resizes and centers the canvas. Right here you can change brushes. The color wheel lets you switch to a pre-selected assortment of colors. The bottom two also give shortcuts, but I personally don't ever use them. Up top we have a tool library. I've roughly drawn something so you can see what the next things do. Quick Transform gives you a few options. You can use the lasso to move whatever shape you like, or use the rectangle for perfectly straight lines. Transform lets you move around an image in some weird ways as well. The paint bucket does what you'd expect by filling in an entire area at once. You can also use it to create perfect gradients. You can drag any of the nodes around and even change their color with the color puck. The big T is for text layers. They have a lot of default fonts, but you can also download and install your own. The ruler lets you create perfectly straight lines exactly where you want them. The ellipse tool allows you to draw curved shapes. Square in a square resizes the entire shape. The hourglass changes the shape, and double-clicking it gives you a perfect circle. The French curve tool gives you strange shapes that would be otherwise hard to get. The perspective guide tool gives you perspective guides. The symmetry tool perfectly mirrors your art on the other side. This setting prevents you from going over the lines, and you can move around where the tool is to change where it mirrors your drawing. Steady Stroke gives you a steadier stroke. Predictive Stroke uses AI to smoothen a stroke. Draw Style gives you shapes to draw with. As for these, the last one is a library of Copic colors. The brushes are to open and close the brush palette, and the color wheel is to open a color wheel. Alright, now we're going to talk about layers. This is an artwork I did last year, and you can see how I have the different layers organized into folders upon folders. As for what layers are, you can think of them as perfectly transparent sheets of paper that allow you to mess around with one sheet without affecting anything else. By clicking this eye, for example, I can make a layer entirely disappear without deleting it. If I click on the padlock, I can color over the artwork perfectly without going over any lines, no matter how much over I actually go. This slide controls the transparency of any given layer, and I can rearrange the order of the layers by clicking and dragging on the little arrows. This drop-down menu changes how one layer affects another layer, often giving wildly different effects. I highly recommend messing around with this to get an idea of how it works. The plus at the top creates a new layer. Clicking and dragging from the center of the layer gives you a menu of options. The folder icon creates new folders, and the picture icon lets you import photos into your art. Scrolling back down to the bottom, you can see a special layer titled Background. This lets you change the background color to whatever you want, or if you want a transparent background, clicking the eye will hide it entirely. And really quickly, I want to show you how I perfectly mirrored the dragon for the card back. Rather than using a symmetry tool, which I find is difficult to use for more complicated art that involves lots of moving and resizing the canvas, I used the mirror image tool. So here I've drawn the rough outline of a dragon, I've cropped the image into more or less the shape of a playing card, and now that I've repositioned it to where I want, I can duplicate the layer with layer functions, then go to image menu, and down to where it says mirror layer, and then again to flip the layer vertically. If you want to mirror the entire artwork, not just a single layer, go to image and select mirror canvas or flip canvas vertically, depending on your needs. And that's it! I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions or issues, please leave a comment down below and I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.